The Birthday Party is easily one of the most dark and haunting post-punk groups of the early goth movement, utilizing bleak and noisy soundscapes to emphasize stories of religion, violence, and uncomfortable lyrics sung by the manic vocalist Nick Cave. But how did this chaotic, experimental, and quite frankly disturbing band give way to one of the most compelling, influential, and diverse bands of their time? I had this question myself, so I decided to explore. How did the Birthday Party become Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds? Hello, I'm Miko, and welcome to my channel where I talk about gothy things and just things I like. And I did want to say thank you so much everyone for over 100 subscribers. I really appreciate all of you being here. And I've also just really been enjoying the comments that y'all have been leaving. I feel very lucky to have attracted such an intellectual audience. Thank you so much. I do plan on doing something small for y'all. I was thinking about maybe doing some music hunting together. It could be fun. But now for today's video essay, how the Birthday Party became the Bad Seeds. The original lineup consisted of Nick Cave, guitarist Rowland Howard, Mick Harvey on guitar, drums, organ, and piano, bassist Tracy Pugh, and drummer Phil Calvert. But after their initial album release, the Door Door album, and the Hee Haw EP, the band decided to move to the UK, where an array of new and exciting bands were coming onto the international music scene. However, upon arriving, they found a cesspool of bitterness and squalor, with bands they regarded as mediocre and with hostile reception. The harsh conditions quickly led the band to live in squats and resulted in Howard suffering from malnutrition. Problems were exacerbated for Cave and Howard, who brought with them substance addictions which made them wholly unemployable. However, this building anger and resentment became the building blocks for the confrontational blues and rockabilly combination to form into something beyond the Boys Next Door. They became the Birthday Party. According to Mick Harvey in an interview with Vinyl magazine, there was always the potential for anything to happen. Sometimes it felt like it was on the end of some violent explosion. And a violent explosion it was. The Birthday Party created their first album, Prayers on Fire, which earned some critical praise in the US and the UK. And with that praise, fans began flocking to the shows. At this point, people had already heard of the manic and fraught shows that the Birthday Party put on. With their pent-up rage bursting through every single show, it created an incredibly confrontational experience. The crowd was never prepared for how manic and fraught these shows truly were, and the performers fed off of the energy of the crowd, who at some point began acting more like a mob. While violence at a punk show was nothing new at the time, this was not what the Birthday Party wanted. Harvey recounted in Vinyl magazine, "One night, an audience member clambered up onto the stage and began urinating on Pugh as he was playing, and Pugh responded by smashing his bass into the man's head. Understandable? But as you can imagine, this only amplified the rage more. The band members didn't want people to become so violent the moment that they started to play, and this massive stress quickly changed the group's dynamic. Cave and Howard began to resent working with one another, and Cave did not want to sing any more of Howard's songs, which, on its own, was a death to the band. And as a result, Howard and Walsh left the band. But that wasn't for long, for as the band was preparing to record their second album, Pugh was jailed for drunk driving, and the former members, Harry Howard and Chris Walsh, filled in for the absent Pugh on 1982's Junkyard. With their increasing success, the Birthday Party inspired bands of copycats who missed the point of their music entirely and instead just copied their vaguely gothic style and their haircuts, which the band detested. And so, after the release of Junkyard, the Birthday Party fired Calvert, their drummer, and moved to Germany, where they began collaborating with such experimental post-punk acts like Lydia Lunch and Eins der Sonde Neubauten. Unfortunately, the inclusion of these new talents brought in more resentment and the band finally disbanded. However, Nick Cave continued on with a brief tour as Nick Cave and the Cavemen, writing his own music and creating a new ensemble of musicians. The initial lineup consisted of Nick Cave, Mick Harvey, Blixa Bargeld, and J.D. Thirlwell, although Thirlwell quickly departed and Barry Adamson of the band Magazine and Hugh Race joined. The band decided upon the name Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds in reference to the birthday party EP, The Bad Seed. And thus, a new era was born. Bargeld had a huge impact on Cave as the most beautiful man in the world, apparently. Cave experimented heavily with his band, trying to figure out what kind of music he would enjoy making. This resulted in an often contradictory range of styles, fueled by highs and lows of substance addiction, which was very different for Adamson, whose other band, Magazine, was fairly well controlled, but the band persevered and carved out a career that was unwaveringly theirs. Touching more upon blues and pop, but initially keeping the dark and foreboding themes of the birthday party, they started their debut album, From Her to Eternity, in 1984. The band created a diverse lineup of songs. Songs like Avalanche start off with a very heavy birthday party influence, and while From Her to Eternity is very erratic, it has very clear blues influences, similar to Screamin' Jay Hawkins. Thankfully, they have developed their sound from here, ranging from the Southern Gothic to pop ballads. It may be hard to believe that Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds is goth, which is because only some of their stuff is goth in genre. If you go to a goth club which plays post-punk, I can basically guarantee that you'll hear Right Red Hand from their 1994 album, Let Love In. And you remember those bands who copied the birthday party? Some of them did go on to become goth bands. I don't know, I'm not good with outros, as I'm sure anyone who's listened to any of my videos can tell, but I thought that this was just a super neat tidbit of music history, how a band can become so huge and so amazing with such a rough start. What is your favorite Nick Cave song? Mine is the song Deanna. Like and subscribe if you want. Thank you again, and have a nice day.